Any professional meeting online can be chaos, but not anymore. With the system I'm going to be building step by step in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you, as a team leader, as a business owner, as a founder, can ensure that every and any meeting that you have is organized. Everyone knows what they need to do immediately after the meeting, so that there is no more lack of accountability. There's no more confusion as to what should happen after the meeting. The system will take the transcript of that video or of that meeting, will run it through a series of steps of automation, and will let everyone know what they need to do. Even better, it will allow you to store the information in a database so that you can chat with whatever was said in that meeting, and there's always a record of what was actually said. There's never any loss of data, any way for someone to say that they didn't or that they did say something when they hadn't. So this is a great automation if you ever run or plan on running any sort of meeting online, which I think is something we all do. So let's get right into it. What we're building here, as I said, is a powerful meeting automation pipeline that is an intelligent system that takes meeting files, processes them through AI analysis. It extracts ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics, stores everything inside a database, and it allows for chat-based querying. So quite a mouthful right there. Then it also automatically routes insights to relevant department experts. So quite a lot that is happening. And the idea is that you can transform your meeting chaos into organized, searchable, institutional knowledge. So that's the whole goal of this automation. As always, we're going to be using NA10 as the no-code builder right here. And what I'm going to be doing, or what I've done, is I've generated a mock sort of transcript for a meeting for an AI automation agency right here. So we've got some text to work with. So I'll be using this as the input text. And I've also gone ahead and found this video online. So if I go to YouTube, let me actually pull this up and let me see where that was. YouTube. So I found this video called 101 Quick and Easy Team Building Activities. And imagine this was a meeting, right? The idea was that I wanted to get an MP3 and be able to download this and use it as if this was someone that gave a meeting, or this was sort of like a team meeting, so we can extract the main ideas from it. So that's the whole point of this. I've downloaded this and I've uploaded the MP3 file of this in my Google Drive. So I'll be showing you how to do both the text-based and the audio-based as part of the automation. Going back to NA10 right here, let's get started. So let's set actually, it won't be a manual trigger, it will be on-form submission. So this will be the post-team meeting. Let's have the post-team meeting title here. I'm going to do as the form description, I'm going to say enter team meeting transcript or MP3. So here I'll have the team, let's say text right here. And let's also have the MP3 version. So with the MP3 version, we'll just need to do a few extra steps right there. For the MP3 version, let's put in in my case, I'm going to put in a URL, or I'm just going to leave it as text. You can also, if you have this locally on your computer, have this be a file. So let me actually show you a file, just to have a bit of variety right there. So I'll run this, and now I have the form right there. If we start with the MP3 version, let's just do that. So I'll submit that one, and this will download the data into NA10. So now we have what is called binary data right here. So this is what we have right there, which also means that we need to have a path to define whether it's MP3 or it's the sort of the MP3 version or the text version. So we need to have two rules right here. So here I'm going to say, if I look at the JSON, I'm going to say if MP3 string is not empty, then we know it's an MP3 version. But if text is not empty, then we know it's the text version. So in my case, if I were to just pin this data and I run this, it should, let's see, go down route number 2 right here, or 1 since we start from 0. But there seems to be an error. So here, I was expecting a string. That's fine. So let's go here and let's just do dot to JSON string. So we get some data right there. And now, great. Please execute the whole node. Okay. So let's try this again. I'm going to choose the file once more. And this is sort of an issue with NA10 sometimes when you pin data, which is an amazing function. If it's binary data, it doesn't allow you to re-execute it. So it now went down route 1, which if we were to be a bit more clear with what this is called. This is called MP3 and this is called text. So now this has gone down the MP3 route. So I'm going to pin this. Now, what happens next? We need to transcribe. So let's go to OpenAI. Let's choose transcribe a recording. And here, we're just going to give it this MP3 version. So for input, we just want that. One thing I don't, I mean, this will always be MP3 version, so that should be fine. So here, if I just hit execute, let's see if this will ask us to start the whole process. Yeah. So again, let's do this one more time. This will be just to get up and running. So if I just hit submit, this should now go down this route, transcribe the recording, and then give us that recording. And once we get that, we can just extract the recording so that we can pin just the text recording. So as this is doing its thing, the next thing will be for us to actually go down the route of the user actually inputting the text version only. So this will be much more straightforward as a process. So here, this is still doing the transcription right here, taking its time. In the meantime, writing about what is going to come next is once we have the data, we're going to go to a database such as Pinecone right here, and we're going to add a new index. So let's create a new index. Let's call this the meeting transcription. I'm going to use text embedding 3 small right here. I'm going to leave everything else as is. Just note the dimensions, which are 512. I'm going to hit create index. And here, this is initializing the database that we will be using. All right, this seems to be taking way too long though. So let me just stop this. Seems to have gotten stuck. And let's try this once more. I'll just refresh here. Execute, choose. Let's get that, submit. Let's try again. So I was saying here, we'll use something called Pinecone. So once we get the data right there, I'm just going to go to Pinecone, vector store. I'm going to add document to a vector store. I'm already connected to my Pinecone. If not, you just need to create a new credential and just follow the documentation right here to get your Pinecone API key. And in my case, since I'm already connected, I'm going to choose my meeting transcription. I'm going to add the option here, clear Pinecone namespace, that's fine. I'm going to add the embedding model, which is OpenAI. Dimensions need to be 512 because that's what I chose when I created the document or the database. And here we'll need to add the information from our document or from our transcription, right? So here, if we just grab that text, we now have the transcript of that video. So that's the first thing. Now, let's just pin this right here and this right here. Let's do the text version of this just to get up and running with some text as well. So if I go to this right here and copy it, let's go back here, paste the whole thing, and then hit submit. So now this didn't like that. Let's see, this is not empty. All right, so this for some reason didn't like that. So what we can do is just remove this. And if I insert the text version again, it should go down this, which is fine. And then let's also add a fallback output. So the fallback will be output text, or rather extra output. So the extra output, the fallback will be the audio. So we know that it's either text or the fallback, which is the MP3 version. So we can just do it like that. What I want to do here is if it's the text version, let's just grab the text, call it text, so that the output here and the output right here will always come from a variable called text. So whether we transcribed or not, it's always coming from text. So that's the first part. Now here we said it would take meeting files. It would process them through AI analysis to extract ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics. So one thing we might want to do right here before going to Pinecone and storing the information in the database is categorize the stuff immediately. So when we insert it into the database, it's much more organized. So let's just do that. I'm going to go AI agent. I'm going to choose a model. So let's go with OpenAI again. Let's choose 4.1, so something a bit more powerful instead of the mini version. And let's see let's call this ideas guy, or ideas, I know, meeting guy, transcription, whatever. And this will get both of that, right? So the input here will always be the JSON.text, because that is what we called the information that's coming in from this or this right here. Now for the system prompt, let's go back here and we'll say your job is to extract ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics. So that is essentially what it's going to be doing. So for the system prompt right here, your helpful assistant that extracts ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics. You output in JSON format as follows. Actually, thinking about it, if I just want pure JSON, Let me just remove this guy and let's just use OpenAI, because if we use the messenger model right here, we have the ability to, let's see if that is still here, output format, JSON, let's use JSON object. So now we can have a system message here, which is what we were building before. We can choose the 4.1 again, just like we did before. And for the user, let's put in that JSON.text, just like we had before. The main benefit is that now we can just get pure JSON output immediately, rather than having this and then having to do a bunch of things to get the JSON output that we want. So we can reconnect that. And if we go back to what we were doing before, which is the system message, I'm going to say your helpful assistant that extracts ideas, etc., to-dos, problems, topics. You output in JSON format as follows. So let's say we have the ideas go here. Let's do the same for to-do, problems, and topics. So we have to-dos, we have problems, we have topics. We need to follow the JSON formatting, so double quotes right there. That's always colon. For this one, oops, let's just say to-dos here, problems here, topics here. I think what we might also want to get the date, but we don't need that as part of the main information, so we'll need to insert that right here as part of the metadata. What else? So I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's use just data's metadata just to keep it simple. And metadata is just additional information that would help with storing the data and retrieving the right data, essentially. So let's test this out. If we use text right here, so we follow this route, we now have some text right here. So if we go back to our ideas guy and we hit execute, this guy should, first of all, doesn't like something. Missing required parameter. Input to.context.text. That's weird. Missing required parameter. Input to. Not quite sure what input to is. I mean, unless it's referring to this. Here we have JSON. Web search. No. Let's try duplicating this. Let's try that. Oops. Yeah. Seems to have been some sort of bug, or this didn't quite refresh, I guess. So let's do that. And let's rename this as ideas guy. And here we got the output. So we got 6 ideas. Offer paid discovery sessions, develop productized automations. For the to-dos, document, complete the project, clean up. All right, great. So one thing we need to do is just double check all this, right? That it's actually stuff that was said from the video, because there's a lot of ideas right there. So one thing we might want to do is just your helpful assistant that extracts, let's say, the top 5. So here we're mentioning AI-powered workflow automation and API integration. I mean, which makes sense because this was about this right here. And we had these people. Okay, so that's fine. So if we look at prior, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, so now what we can do is actually insert all this into the database. And also thinking about it, just thinking about whether it should be in JSON format or not. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. We can also categorize this as date and like use additional markdown stuff. For example, what I mean is that if we now go to Pinecone and look at the default data loader, we can add metadata and let's have the date and let's have the type, right? So for type, we could have, for example, let's see. So what I'm thinking is that for the date, we just insert the date of today, right now. For the type, I guess we could insert the, this would, yeah, we just need to insert whether it's an idea, a to-do, or a problem, but maybe that's a bit more on the complicated side. So here for the actual data, we can load specific data. So I guess what we could do is, yeah, let's see if we can. So let's say we're loading 3 different things. So here we would have all the ideas. So it would have a string of different ideas. And then the type here would be ideas. So we're inserting the idea and the date, time of now, right? So this would be inserting ideas. What I don't like about this is that we're going to repeat the process 3 times. For ideas, we can have the same thing. So this would be not ideas guy. This would be the meeting evaluator. Then we would have the, what else did we have? So the ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics. I mean, yeah, could work. It's just a bit, I guess, clunky. Or there's a lot to it. So let's try this out. So here we have insert ideas, insert to-dos, insert problems, and insert topics. So now each of these will have their own brain for embedding, which can be the same thing each and every time. For the default data loader is where we need to change that slightly, because the date will be the same, just like we had before, which is equal to $now. But for the other, which let's see what we called it here, for the type, it will be different for each one. So for this one, it will be to-dos. For this one, it would be, let's actually copy this and copy this. So this will be problems. This will be topics, and we'll just need to change the actual data that will be inserted. So for this one right here, we inserted ideas right here, right? For this one, we'll need to insert to-dos. So we'll load specific data, expression. Instead of ideas, let's change this to to-dos. That's great. For problems, obviously we need to do the same thing. So default data loader, load specific data problems. And finally over here, we're just inserting topics. So like that, we're inserting, I mean, we're being very detailed with the stuff we're inserting and how we're inserting it. So let's tidy this up and let's give this a shot. So here, let's go back here, copy this and paste the whole thing right there. Let's see what happens here. So this should be evaluating the meeting, and then we're inserting the ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics into Pinecone. All right, so it's doing ideas first. Great, then to-dos, etc. So here we should have some ideas for us to see. So there's, okay, this was from before maybe. Let's see where we're at. Let me refresh this actually. Okay, so it's inserted, yeah, problems, to-dos, ideas, topics, and did we have 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So that inserted the whole thing right there. Excuse me. So here we have the date, 26th of November. We have the text, which is related to ideas. So now if we're to search based on the date and the ideas, that would be great. What I don't necessarily like here is this right here. So I want this to be more, yeah, if I'm a user making a search, yeah, I'm just going to change. So I'm going to, let's just, first of all, delete these 4 items. I can do this manually. Just for the date, let's delete. For the date, I just want to store the, let's do, I don't know, day, month, year. So that if I wanted to search specifically for that, I could be able to. So here, instead of inserting that, let's insert now.format. And here, let's just put in FF. Let's see which one that is. F. Let's just load. In NA10, how do I format a date? So it's, let's do DD, month, 1111. Based on this, probably I can just use that. Yeah. Small d, small y's, capital M's. So if we go back here, yeah, I get 26/11/2025. So I just need to do that for the other ones as well. So there's that, and there's that. So save. Let's spin the meeting transcript and let's run this once more. Let's close this. So here, whilst this is inserting data into Pinecone, what we're finally need to do is route insights to relevant department experts. So here, once this finishes, let's say that we want to send an email just to keep it simple. So let's go Gmail, let's send a message, and this can be done for multiple departments that you might have, right? So I'm going to add this right here at the bottom, and I'm going to send an email to myself. Let's actually use OpenAI again. I'm going to message a model, and I'm going to say, based on the meeting evaluator right here, right? So I'm going to insert the text right here, and I'm going to do it to JSON string right here, so it inserts all the information. And for the system message, I'm going to say, create me an executive summary of not more than 4 to 5 sentences, so I can send an email based on what was discussed on this meeting. Hit execute. All right, there's some issues right here. Message a model. Probably need to choose the model. Yeah, 4.1. All right, so this is doing the evaluation once more. And then once that happens, I can send an email with a subject called meeting report. Possibly here, what would be nice would be to say output in HTML format. So if I just pin this and run this once more, this is message summary. So now we get that right there. So we will go to Gmail. We can just send an HTML email that, as always, OpenAI sometimes, or large language models, insert that those tribactics HTML. So we'll just need to do a replace all We insert that and replace it with nothing. And we also do the same for the ending backticks right there. So this should now send us an email like that. I mean, yeah. In our meeting, we address that, great. So at the end of the meeting, once we evaluated that, we send a message sort of with a report. So if I were to run this, I should get an email that looks something like, let's see, this, which isn't very nice looking, but that can also be specified right here in the meeting summary. One thing we can do is also remove the innate and attribution. So that's done right there. So now if we go back to Pinecone and we refresh, we should have those 4 new pieces of data, which we do. There's the better formatted date for us if we were to do a search on it. There's the text and there's the type, ideas, to-dos, problems, and topics. Great. So that's the first part of the automation. Let's tidy this up. If we wanted to then have a chat with our data, we could add another trigger on chat message. We connect this to OpenAI or to an AI agent right here. We need to give it a chat model. So let's use OpenAI. We need to give it access to Pinecone right here, vector store. So we choose our index, which was called meeting transcription. Let's pull whatever. I mean, it's a small number, so let's pull 10. We need to include metadata. So for the metadata filter, let's set filter. And we can either specify the date. So I'm pretty sure we can do from AI. And this would be user date, maybe. Even though last time I had I had an issue with this from AI. So I'm not sure if this is working or still working as expected, because as you can see, it's still erroring out from AI. The key description is not required, type is not required, default value. Yeah, not quite sure. From AI. And then they have name in double parentheses. Yeah, but it's still erroring out. So let's try it out. We might need to remove it. So this would be date. And then we can also search on just, for example, the type. But again, we would need the from AI for us to only get that data. But then again, we could also, I guess, get all the data if we wanted to. It's just that this would make it much more helpful if we wanted to have some sort of variable data. And this is not looking good based on that just turning red. So let's also have type. And let's say from AI, let's have type. So now if we can also add memory if we wanted to. Let's use simple memory here. We need to add embeddings. So let's use OpenAI embedding tree small, that's fine. And here we're saying retrieve what was said in meetings. I think we did test this out. So if I go here, they say what ideas came out of the meeting. Hit enter. All right, we have a different dimension. So we need 512. Let me remember embeddings, dimensions 512. Great. Before we run this again, I'm just going to add the system message here. You have an assistant that always looks into the, what is it called? Pinecone vector store tool to retrieve information based on a user query. So let's be more specific right there. We're going to copy this. We're going to start a new session, hit paste. Let's see what happens. The ideas that came out of the meeting include implement the paid discovery session, paid at $1,500 per project for involving legacy or complex integrations. So let's see if that was true. 1,500. So if we search for that, 1500 or 1 comma maybe. Yeah, implement paid discovery sessions, 1,500 for projects involving a legacy system integration. Great. So this was ideas. But now if I say, what about to-dos? Actually, it isn't, I guess, erroring out now. So, but it's still red. So I'm not sure this is actually being used. So I think it's pulling everything and not sort of ignoring that metadata. Jake to document. Yep, Jake will also prepare and lead Friday Claude training session for the team. Let's see if this is true. Friday, Claude, yeah, prepare training session demos. Great. Are we still doing the team training on Friday? Not sure about leading, but are we still doing the team training session on Friday? I wanted to walk everyone through the new, through the new Claude feature. So it's taking some liberty in terms of leading, but it is, I guess, right. So yeah, that's the whole workflow right there. So each and every time there's a new meeting, we can edit, we can insert it into the database, and then we can get retrieve the information right there. One thing to point out is that this doesn't have to be an input form, right? It could come from any note taker. It could come from, Fathom, Fireflies, or any sort of transcription tool that you use in order to ensure you don't miss anything from your meetings. So that is there right there. That's the automation in a nutshell. We're getting the information, we're evaluating it, we're inserting the stuff into the database correctly in the right categories, And then we're sending a meeting summary to a specific email, which can also be opened up to various different departments. So we could say if something pertains to a specific department, then we send an email to this person. If it's another department, we send a Slack message to another person. So there's a lot of variability that you can include in your system. Then in the second part, what we're doing is we're having the ability to chat with the information that we have right here in Pinecone. So there's a lot of things that you could do with that information, especially as you add more and more information right there. So hope this was helpful. If it did, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you got out of it. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. I'll speak to you soon.